Hi, welcome back. Today I would like to discuss about liquidator's final statement of affairs. This topic is coming under Module 6 of Kerala PSC Assistant Professor in Commerce examination as per revised syllabus, and also for the 5th semester BCom Kannur University students and BBA or MCom students also. So before going to the topic, that is liquidator's final statement of affairs, you all know about what is liquidation or winding up. This is a well-known topic to all of you. That is, since the company is an artificial person created by law, so it also comes to an end by the law. This legal process is known as liquidation. So liquidation is the formal process of terminating the life of the company. It is the legal process by which the company comes to an end. Liquidation of a company is also known as winding up of the company. In fact, the legal process through which a company is wound up is called liquidation. So this is about the meaning of liquidation. Then next I move to my topic, liquidator's final statement of account. The main duty of a liquidator is to realize the assets and distribute the amount realized from this asset to those who are entitled to receive the same. After completing the liquidation process, the liquidator prepares a statement which shows all the receipts on the left side and all the payments on the right side. This statement is called liquidator's final statement of affairs or liquidator's final statement of account. This statement is prepared both in voluntary as well as compulsory winding up of the company. So one of the main duty of a liquidator is to realize the assets. After realizing the assets, the amount collected from such realization is paid to the creditors. This is the main duty of the liquidator. For this purpose, we have to appoint the liquidator by the court. Both in the case of voluntary winding up and compulsory winding up, this statement is prepared. The liquidator submit this statement to the court if it is the compulsory winding up, and to the company if it is the voluntary winding up. If you are going for a compulsory winding up, this liquidator's final statement of affairs is submitted to the court, and if you are going for a voluntary winding up, this statement is submitted to the company. It is an abstract of cash book and not an account, and hence no double entry principles are followed in the preparation of this statement. It is only the abstract of cash book. What do you mean by an abstract of cash book? It is almost like that of a cash book. That is, in the cash book, all the cash receipts are on the left side and all the cash payments are on the right side. Likewise, here also the liquidator's final statement of affairs is a statement and it is not an account, and it also the abstract of cash book, and hence no double entry system of bookkeeping principles are not followed in the case of liquidator's final statement of affairs. So out of the total assets not specifically pledged as per list A and the amount of surplus from the assets specifically pledged as per list B, the payments are made in the following order. Then what do you mean by list A and what do you mean by list B? Before preparing the liquidator's final statement of affairs, first we want to prepare a document under liquidation of company. One of such document is that statement of affairs. So in the case of statement of affairs, it is also a statement prepared by the board of directors, and it is submitted board of directors, it is submitted to the court within the time allowed for the within the time allowed after passing the order of winding up. And in this statement of affairs, we have so many lists. As per list A, assets not specifically pledged. As per list B, assets specifically pledged. The list C stands for preferential creditors, and the list D stands for debenture holders floating by a charge, and the list E stands for unsecured creditors, and list F stands for if there is any preference share capital, it should be deducted, and list F stands for preference share capital, list D stands for equity share capital. And then last one is that as per list H, it is a deficiency or surplus. So in the case of liquidation of a company, when we are going to prepare the statement of affairs, we have to undergo this kind of list. So out of the total assets not specifically pledged from list A, and together with the amount of surplus from the assets specifically pledged as per list B, this amount are total together, and by using this amount we have to make payment. So when we are going for making payment to the creditors, the following order must be followed. The order is that first one, we have to make payment, that is legal expenses, that is cost of liquidation. Then second one is that cost of liquidation or cost of winding up. Then legal expenses like cost of liquidation, including the liquidator's remuneration, Then next, debenture holders having floating charge. Then next, preferential creditors. Then next, unsecured creditors. Then next, if there is any surplus, it must be distributed among the members or contributories. This is the order of payment. So first we have to make payment to the liquidator's remuneration, including legal expenses, then liquidation expenses or cost of winding up, then debenture holders having floating charge on the assets, then preferential creditors, then unsecured creditors, then the surplus, if any, among the members or contributories. So this is the order of payment. The next, how to calculate liquidators' remuneration under liquidation of company. Normally, liquidators gets remuneration in the form of commission, which is usually based as a percentage on value of assets realized and the amount paid to unsecured creditors. Normally, liquidators get remuneration in the form of a commission, which is to be calculated as a percentage on the value of assets realized and the amount paid to unsecured creditors. Where the remuneration is paid on the payment made to unsecured creditors, in this case, the following points must be borne in mind. That is, preferential creditors must also be taken into consideration because they are also the unsecured creditors. Then, if the balance amount available is sufficient to pay the unsecured creditors in full, the amount of commission is calculated as, that is, if the balance available is sufficient to pay the unsecured creditors in full, then in such cases the amount of commission is calculated as, that is the equation, the amount of unsecured creditors into percentage of commission, the whole divided by 100. And if the balance amount available is not sufficient to pay the unsecured creditors in full, in such a situation the amount of commission is calculated as, that is the amount available for unsecured creditors into percentage of commission, the whole divided by 100 plus percentage of commission. This equation is followed when we are not able to pay the unsecured creditors in full. Sometimes the amount left for paying unsecured creditors is less than the amount required. Under such circumstances, the commission is to be calculated carefully. The next situation, where the remuneration is to be paid on amount paid to shareholders. Sometimes the liquidators is allowed a commission on the amount distributed among the shareholders. In such cases, the commission is calculated on the amount left after payment to unsecured creditors, that is the amount available to shareholders. The equation is the amount available for shareholders into percentage of commission, the whole divided by 100 plus percentage of commission. This equation is clearly understood while we are undergoing a problem based on liquidators' remuneration. This is only the theory part. Sometimes it is mentioned in the question that commission is to be allowed on the amount distributed among the equity shareholders only. In such cases, the amount paid to preference shareholders is also deducted from the available balances. So the formula will be the amount available for equity shareholders into percentage of commission, the whole divided by 100 plus percentage of commission. In this way, we are able to calculate the remuneration of liquidators. So this is a common topic. This is a well-known topic to all of you. So I hope you all are clear with my simple explanation. Thank you.